Good day, good night, shalom, balance, righteousness all. We back. Long time overdue. As you can see, if you're viewing this on the old boob tube, another special guest with me. And this is a guest I've been actually wanting for quite some time to grace the platform. Um, the one and only Mr. David Weiss. How are we doing, sir?
What's going on, Noble man? Thanks for having me on, and looking forward to the conversation.
Most well, definitely. You're a wealth of knowledge, and you've really incited a lot of thoughts in not in even just the realm in which we live on, but in many different areas. And I thought, as I said, you're such an interesting character. I have to have you on. I've had many people on in regards to this specific subject, what the realm is and where we actually live. And I thought to have you on would be, a triple cherry on the cake of sorts. Um, so before we even delve into the mind of Mr. Wise and how this all transpired and come to be, how has life been treating you amidst the zombie apocalypse, sir?
I haven't run into any zombies. I haven't seen anyone wearing a mask. No one's attacked me in the last 3 days, but I haven't left my house. So that could be there. I have to think about that. The world is insane. People are lost souls, and yeah, they're zombies, and they're all identifying themselves with their masks.
Mm,
So, with that said, I've had the greatest year of my life. Life is amazing. It's just
yes.
unfortunate that the world has gone insane.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, if you can try and paint a vivid picture as possible in regards to how has your life been great during this period where people of mental health has deteriorated, physical health has deteriorated, work life balance has gone out the window, kind of thing. What is some of your keys to success for 2020 and 2021?
Well, personally, my myself is, I no longer have to go to an office. I'm working from my home. I get to spend more time with my girlfriend. Um, I'm doing my path, following my passion. I'm speaking to people like yourself and converting people that think we live on a ball every single day. I'm doing like 20 interviews a week now. I'm more connected to my reality.
Hmm.
I mean, the world is possibly crumbling around me, but personally in my space, I'm holding a nice solid vibration
Yes.
and life is really good. So all I can do is hold my space and not lower myself down into that lower vibrating field. And hopefully people will come up and join me.
Perfect. Perfect. I think you're either in one side of the boat, that's the side of the boat that's sinking, or you're at the top part, figuring out, what do we do next? Once the boat's actually capsized, how are we gonna, keep afloat and maintain ourselves and
Sure.
our bodies and stuff. So it's interesting. As you say, there are a big there is a big sign of awakening across many boards. Some are slower than others, and this is all about people's own personal journeys. Um, but with everything that's happening, and with the you speak that's being promoted, the fear porn constantly on the old box, some people are like, I've had enough, and I think we need to get to the point where it's the network, and we're all screaming out the window, I've had enough and I'm not going to take anymore.
It's tough to get people to that point when they're just complying. You know, they've got people believing, if it's not on CNN or Fox, it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
When the opposite is true, if it's on CNN and Fox, it's probably not real. And people are just so fed up. They've got people fed up to the point where they're like, I can't wait for the jab. I don't want to say the V word. And I just it blows my mind that people are willing to go do that, but they're going to try to turn it around to where the people that don't get the jab are the problem.
Yes.
So there's a massive shift in humanity coming, in my opinion, over the next 4 or 5 years.
Huge, absolutely massive. And I have seen some glimmers of hope of sorts where there are scientists and people who are in allegedly higher positions who are saying, look, you are going to have a people who are for religious purposes, for health reasons, cannot and will not take this jab. Now we need to consider those people, and treat them in a humane way and not sort of ostracize those people. Where on the flip side, you've got a lot of people saying, if you're not taking the jab, they need to wear a band, like this is like Germany at some point, and be identified. Like currently, if you go into places of business, i.e. retail, you've got to, this is in the UK, I'm not too sure what happens in America.
Oh, it's bad here.
You've got to display something, David.
No, you don't have to do that yet, but I go in, I shop without a mask. I'm the only one in the shopping center without a mask. And most of the time it's okay, but people will like, where's your mask? And I have too many different things to say. I mix it up all the time, but if they're really coming at me, one of my favorite things to say is, please keep your distance from me with that germ-infested face diaper. I don't want to get sick.
Yes. It's absolute facts. And they're not realizing, they're not even thinking. It's just comply or die. Simple as.
Totally.
We're getting to a state of sort of martial law where I've said this right at the start, and it's I think if there was to do this, the mass populi would go for it. There's going to be hypothetically, they could come on and say, well, we've got a new way to minimize your risk while you're shopping. Before you enter the mall or the place of the retail outlets, hold your breath for 15 seconds, do a 360, and then hop on one foot, and that will cover you for an hour.
I heard that if you take a popsicle stick and stick it in your rear end, that will protect you from infecting anybody else or being infected.
It sounds crazy, David, but it just might work. Yes. So glad to hear you're safe. Family and friends all well as well. In this.
Everyone's well.
Good.
Not well in the head, but everyone's physically well. Mm-hmm. Just think about this. If they wanted us to be healthy, they'd say, go out and get some sun, walk barefoot on the beach, do some exercise, open up the gyms, eat organic food, and and go hug people. But they have us doing the opposite on every level. It's all about divide and conquer. Divide, divide, divide. The world used to be a one world community, which I believe was Tataria, and everybody was united and we all had massive power because we were all united. But then after whatever reset happened, they've divided us up by countries, and they divided us up by states and political parties and sports teams and genders and races. And they just divide. And now they have us wearing masks, don't get near each other, don't look at anyone's face, and don't talk to each other, and don't sing. They're taking away all of this life, to what it means to be human. They're taking it away because that's literally lowering our force, if you will.
Force, vibration. It's also lowering on the physical side. It's lowering the immune system. It is absolute insanity. And as I alluded to in a comical way, we do need to get to that breaking point where people are like, look, come on, this is silly. This is absolutely silly.
Think about this. Take all of the world leaders together, all the ones that are pulling all of this nonsense, and imagine if everyone else in the world came together, and we're all together for countries, forget all of that. It's all just one. And we all looked and just said, no, thank you.
Yes.
It's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's over. But they have us in separate groups. They have, they've divided us every way. They got people broke now, but they're hiring them as contact tracers, and they think that they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's unreal. My daughter just came back from California. She gets a phone call every day to make sure she hasn't left her apartment.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is actually Songbird being played out.
I'm actually going to be watching that movie hopefully tonight. I've downloaded it and I can't
Uh,
wait to watch it.
you've
I
got
don't really
to.
watch movies, but for research purposes, I want to see this one.
You have to. I think I won't give it away, but it's not what it's supposed to be. It's not what it's supposed
Okay.
to be. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking for something interesting. Is it interesting? Should I watch it or should I not watch it?
No, it's definitely worth a watch. It's definitely worth
All
a
right.
watch.
All right. You watched it already.
One spoiler would be
Don't spoil it.
it's romantic. That's all I'll say.
They always have to add that in.
Of course,
Just like they did with Behind the Deceptive Curve on Netflix.
Far. Hmm. What an interesting piece of work that was. Okay, so we're jumping. We're in the DeLorean. What year are we going back? Yeah, that's it. Excellent timing. What year are we going to go back, David, in the DeLorean, so we can start your journey in regards to the rabbit hole that you've been going down?
I don't know. Where do you want to go? We can
Well,
go. We can go back.
what was the inception? What was the wake? What was the stirring point for you then? For me personally, it was 2001 in September on the 11th day of that month.
Yeah, that was definitely one of them for me. I'll go there because I live in a spot where I can see, not on television, I can see Lower Manhattan across the water, and it was a perfectly crisp, clear day, so I could see with my own eyes, even without binoculars, what was happening in the air. And I had a really strong pair of binoculars too, where I could zoom way in on the towers. And what I saw wasn't what they were describing on TV, but it took me 4 years before I could really process what I saw and then start looking into it. And that was one of the openings. My podcast, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, which I did out of New York, the first episode the title was 9/11 was Dave's baby. 9/11 is Dave's baby. And it was an epic episode where we
lengthy, I take it.
It was good. It was 2 hours, and the producers in the studio that we're at had no idea what we were going to get into. And by the time we were done, there was like people sticking their heads through the windows, people lined up in the back of the room, holding their heads like, what just happened? Because this is in New York and everyone was asleep.
Yes.
Everyone was asleep.
Yes. And what was the reaction after that? Was it a case of just mind blowing, or was it a case of, look, we need to, what more information can you provide? Where else can I go to get this kind of?
A little bit of both, but we pressed forward, and over the years I introduced other deceptions, and some of them it was difficult for them to wrap their heads around. But the one that happened in Connecticut, that one was a big one for me, and it was difficult. But then we embraced it, and everybody saw it. But then the flat Earth came in, and some people just could not wrap their heads around it, and that actually kind of brought the podcast after 3 years to an end, which was a blessing because it ran its course. And then I started the Flat Earth podcast, and here I am 6 years later talking to you.
Perfect. Because it's, as your podcast title, original title, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, it's not just a singular hole. Once you go down that thing with your eyes open, seeking questions or asking questions and seeking answers, you find yourself in so many different places.
Right.
So what actually made you stumble? What was for me, it was Mr. Sergeant and the clues. That's what I found first. And I thought, number one, why hasn't anybody else questioned this? And then number two, pretty much everything he was saying, I was just going back to regressing to childhood and thinking, I remember asking these questions and being told, but this is how it is. That's it. and always thinking about Australia and stuff. So what was your sort of tipping point?
So my tipping point was, I was banning people from our social media for even suggesting that I look into flat Earth. And then I was speaking with Sophia Smallstorm, another researcher that we were investigating the Connecticut event and other things. And there was, I forget which Bang Bang event happened that I was just blown away on how obvious it was. And I said to her, I said, there's so much deception in this world. It's unbelievable. It's unbearable. I was like, how do they get away with it? And she says, and I quote, she goes, "Oh, David, it's worse than that. I think the earth might be flat." And I actually literally had just finished banning a couple people from our social media for just repetitively begging me to look at flat earth. And I wouldn't look. I was closed-minded. So I said, all right. She goes, watch these videos. And she sent me Mark Sargent's clues. And I was like, wow, it's interesting. So I'm going to prove, I went in with a biased attitude. I'm going to prove the globe and disprove flat earth and put an end to this. And I couldn't answer any of those questions. And for 2 weeks, I tried and tried and tried. And I came out the other side a little shaken. And I was like, wow, we don't live on a spinning globe. And here we are, flash forward.
Perfect. And it's almost like a weight off your shoulder when you come to this kind of realization of sorts, because it's as you're going down these chapters and these schools of thoughts and these rabbit holes, you're thinking, what else could there be? I mean, like, what else are they lying about? I mean, the moon thing for me was like, when I first stumbled across that, a crazy thing that happened on the way to the moon, I was like, and that footage, the extra footage that they haven't shown, have been blocking out the the lunar. It was like, what on? So if they can do that, I didn't buy it straight away, but I thought, okay, let's look at personal experience. I've been on some boats. I've been on numerous amounts of planes, and as you do, as a passenger, you look out the plane and you see what you can see. You're thousands of miles up in the air. They're apparently 15,000 miles up and all that. What can we actually see? I've never ever personally seen any form of a globe Earth, but I just thought I didn't. Oh, you are mute, David.
I love talking on mute. It's because you're not high enough, Noble.
Perspective. That's what I've heard. You've got to go ridiculously high up, which makes sense. Which kind of makes sense. But from the standpoint of the pro globe, it's, well, I've been on a plane and I've seen the globe. I've seen the actual curve. When I went to the Caribbean last year, I saw it. And I went to Spain, I see it. Every time I go up in the plane, I see it. But then how do you see it? Number one, you can't get high enough to be able to see, based upon your ocular senses. And also the perspective of what object you're on and the object you're looking down on. You'd have to go very, 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 very high up into the sky.
Well, they tell you that the earth is so big that, you can't see it. They keep raising the globe post, I call it, because when we prove that you can't see it at 70,000 feet from a MiG fighter, Neil deGrasse Tyson goes, you can't see it at 127,000 feet, where Felix Baumgarten did his jump, because that used to be one of the favorite proofs that Globers would use. They'd say, Felix Baumgarten jumped and he could see the whole curve of the earth. And we proved that it's a fisheye lens. And so Neil comes out and says, oh, you can't see the curvature from that height. You have to be higher. Okay. And we can prove mathematically that that's not the case at all. I mean, the drop at the distance that you see would be incredible. For those of you that are looking, this is Planet New Mexico. This is all land features in New Mexico. Okay. So if New Mexico covers a third of the earth, or, a quarter of the earth at least, or this is a fisheye lens.
Very much so. Very much. I mean, this is just basic stuff. Very much of basic stuff. Being on a ship, Even just being on a beach, sorry, and looking out at the horizon, and you see, I mean, at sunset specifically, when you're seeing the
Yeah.
sun going down. Um,
I,
I haven't seen it. I have not seen a globe. I haven't seen evidence of this so-called globe.
right. So when the sun sets, it's just going beyond the clouds, and the clouds merge with the horizon. So it just goes beyond, it goes beyond the cloud, just like it's going beyond my finger, right? And you don't see it below it because everything's opaque below that.
Yes.
So it just goes beyond it, and people think it's going down. This is one of my favorites. This is Aluja, France, looking in the direction of Mount Canigou. Now, Mount Canigou is right here, but you can't see it because it's 175 miles away. So the very top of the mountain, according to globe math, would be a mile below the horizon, right?
Wow.
So you can't see it. Well, you can't see it, except there's 2 days a year where the sun is lined up with it. And as the sun starts moving beyond Mount Canigou, it starts backlighting it. And all of a sudden, you see this?
Okay.
This is all Mount Canigou. So the very top of this mountain here should be 1 mile below the sea curve. You know, the top here
Yes.
should be a mile below, but we can see the entire mountain. But only when the sun is lined up with it. So when people say, you know, from Mount so-and-so in Hawaii, you should be able to see the mountain over on Oahu or whatever mountain it is at 300 miles away, you should be able to see it. You can't see 300 miles through the atmosphere. It just becomes opaque.
Yeah.
But in a situation like this, where it gets backlit, it's there. And it should be the top should be a mile below the curve.
It's like the globe mathematics
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. It doesn't stack up when you actually
Wait a
go
minute.
through.
Wait.
Oh,
You're
gosh.
saying the fact that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting at 66,000 miles an hour,
Yes.
chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and moving sideways at 1.2 million miles an hour, or whatever speed that is, that doesn't make sense to you?
Well, I do feel it occasionally, David.
You do. You know what's funny is you feel it, but you know, this lake doesn't feel it. Okay? This lake, it doesn't feel anything sloshing. Imagine you're in a car going 100 miles an hour on a perfectly smooth straight road, and you have a dinner plate with an inch of water on it, and you're holding it. No problem, right? Now that car is going to start turning. Where's that water going?
It's going in the direct. Yeah. it's it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense.
It makes total sense.
But because you don't have a stethoscope on or a white, that costume, your information isn't
Well, if
validated.
I had a bow tie on, I'd be, you can trust me, a white jacket and a bow tie with Bill Nye, the lion guy.
Definitely. It's down to actually really being honest, being open, and asking the right questions. And it falls at every question. It will fall because it doesn't add up. Even just take out science out of it, and let's just look at your own experiences and prove what you've been taught. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Ball. Ba-bum-bum.
Let's talk about the impossible. So this is the 2012 image of the Earth that NASA has on their website that tells us this was taken of Earth. So, you know, they tell us the diameter of Earth is 7,917 miles. So we can look here like, oh, here's Mexico and Baja, and we can actually measure, you know, airplanes. It's hard to measure with an airplane because you don't know how fast it's going, what wind currents are, but we can drive from here to here and know that distance. And we can take a boat, figure out that distance, and we can drive from here to here. And that distance is 934 miles. So 934 if you stack these segments side by side, there should be 8.5 of them, and that would equal the diameter of the Earth. There's no curve to factor in because the diameter is a straight line
Yes.
from the width of the ball,
Mm-hmm.
but 9 of them doesn't even fit on this, on this graphic. So either the Earth is just a few thousand miles around, or NASA's lying and we didn't go to the moon.
Well, I think it wasn't. There's been multiple surveys done, and I'm sure that the isn't it 60+% of people don't believe we went to the moon, and in America it's even higher. So
That's a good question. I don't know, because I know in New York City that 95% of the people have no idea that 9/11 was an inside job, and that's in New York City alone. So,
well, it's that New York minute mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
The Walking Dead, if there wasn't any.
People's minds are infected with cartoons.
Well, look, as you're highlighting here, David, I'm sure that wasn't a camera image that you showed before of the Earth, was it? I'm sure isn't it?
NASA will never use the word photograph when they're referring to one of these images or pictures of Earth, because they don't want to lie.
Mm-hmm.
They could say, well, this is a picture. It's a painting, it's an image.
Yes.
That doesn't mean it's a photograph.
Mm-hmm.
So they make up all sorts of excuses, but they have none other than, lies and gaslighting stuff that we say.
Because didn't the guy who did one of them come out to say these are data points, and from the data points he then creates the image that we see as the Earth?
Yeah, he created it, and between these two images, the United States is way different in size. Robert Simmons, the visual artist, said he did it in Photoshop. He's like, I've got data that said, there's more algae here, so I made that a little greener, and this is the desert, so I made that browner, and I photoshopped clouds, and I was too lazy to make new clouds, so I just stepped and repeated the same clouds again and again. Okay.
And this is in scientific literature. This is what our children, or some of our children who are in education, are being taught. Yeah, blatantly. And this is the thing. So, from a child, it's, write your list for Satan Claus, and he'll come down the chimney. Even if you live in an apartment, he'll find some way to get into your house and give you these presents. And then on Estari or Esther or Easter, we're gonna hunt a bunny who lays eggs. And then we're gonna actually give, you're gonna buy chocolate eggs, and it's just all lies as a child. And the foundation of your whole being is adults lying to you.
Right.
These little white lies, and then not even just the white lies, the big lies that even the adults don't even know is a mistruth. They're just repeating the traditions and the thoughts that have been passed down to them.
Correct. It's unbelievable. It's the amount of deception that's going on in this world is unfathomable.
It truly is, and it's so disturbing. It's more than disturbing. It's maniacal that you've got beings or entities who would have such ideas, and to what goal and to what purpose? Is this literally just a control mechanism? Is this an experiment? All of these lies and misdirections.
It's that people, we're trained from before we can talk as to what this world is. They're all kids' cartoons, all movies, everything are in school. It's all about the globe. So it's hard to convince somebody they've been lied to their whole life. But once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Very true. Well, you do get some who do see it, and it's like the guy in the Matrix. He knows it's bullshit, but he just wants to taste it, man. He just wants the experience. I mean, this three-dimensional world that we're living in, this sort of fast life with all of the glitz and the glamour. For some, it's very enticing. Very much so.
What planet do you think this is?
I'm sure that is alleged to be. Um,
Jupiter.
I was going to say, yeah, yeah, okay.
It's actually a meadow with ducks.
I love it.
So people look up in the sky and they say, "Well, there are the other planets around. What do you think Earth is?" And I don't think Earth is a planet, and I don't think planets are planets. I think they're wandering stars. So we don't know what these things are, but they're in the sky above us. This is the star. What star is that? This is Arcturus. Okay. Does that look like a burning ball of hydrogen, 50 trillion miles away?
Hmm.
Okay. This is just zoomed in with a super zoom camera, consumer grade camera.
No.
This is the star Sirius. Slowed down a little bit. It's crazy, these climatic patterns that you see.
Well,
And
don't they
everything we
say that's, didn't they say at one point that a lot of the planets or some of the planets are gaseous balls?
Well, they
And
say that Jupiter is a gaseous planet with storms and it's very crazy. But if you look at Jupiter, the pictures that they show us of Jupiter, this is the one that was in everyone's textbook. This one came out in 2016, and they're like, hey, Jupiter has a magnetic North Pole because we can see their northern lights. Look at those. Does that look real?
that was silly.
Right. But it's worse than that. They've shown us pictures where this band of storms is going clockwise and this one's going counterclockwise. So they're showing this stormy planet. This is the big red dot storm,
Mm-hmm.
which is bigger than Earth. Okay. And these are all the clouds that are warping off of it. Well, you overlay these. Every single cloud is the same. It's the same picture. See these clouds right here? They're
Yes.
right there.
Yeah.
Right. Every little ripple is right the same. So either clouds don't change on stormy planets over 2 years, or NASA's lying and we didn't go to the moon.
Well, as you've highlighted with the imagery you just shown and your explanation, and going back to um, the Torah, a wandering stars, I will put in the sky into the skies a sign and wonders.
Signs and symbols, signs and season, or signs and what is the saying? I forget.
But at no point at all in that manuscript are we talking about distant planets away with it doesn't and we can go to further ancient cosmologies and we can see that that there's star patterns being traced and being highlighted. Look, we can see something in the sky, but no one until of times, i.e., 17th century upwards of sorts, I guess, were we talking about planets and solid masses and all of this stuff?
Right. It's, the Bible talks about the earth being flat and immovable and never mentions planets, never mentions the earth as a sphere of any type. It's observably flat and stationary. Every test has proved that tried to prove the opposite. Does that sun look like it's 93 million miles away?
I think I would say
Right there. It's right there. I can almost touch it. Look, I'm
it's
touching it.
it's almost there. I would say it looks about 72 million miles away.
I think it's closer to 72 miles away.
Localized sun and lunar.
Yep.
Okay.
So people say if the earth is flat and the sun is rotating over it and just going farther away, why doesn't it get smaller? Well, under the right conditions where you don't have any clouds in the sky to block it from the bottom up, right? And no humidity in the air to magnify it as it moves away and shrinks, you can just watch it shrink to a little dot. until it's gone. It's just going away. It's not going down.
So it's so and another way to sort of describe the sun, the Atun Ra in Chemician. Um, this is a light source in essence, like a light bulb, which can be turned down and up in the most simplest way.
I don't like to call it a light bulb. I like to call it a focal point of energy because it doesn't react like a physical object. When you try to triangulate it, the more points of triangulation you have, the farther off the results get. So we all see the sun in a position unique to our own viewing position. So it's more like a reflection or a projection into the Earth system. And the sun isn't hot.
Okay, so I've heard this, and it's been a while since we've had I've heard this conversation. So please explain, because the is doesn't the lunar luminary give off a form of heat as well?
The moon actually gives off a cold light. When you magnify moonlight, it gets colder. When you're out in the moonshine versus shaded from the moon, in the shade, it's warmer.
Okay.
So that's the people like, what? I don't get it. It's because that information has been held from us. You can do that test yourself, but you have to be very careful not to get a false result by insulating the ground with whatever you're blocking the moonshade with and getting a false reading. So you just have to be very careful how you do that. So the sun is electric in nature. It's full of energy. We can prove that, because everything on this earth grows from the electricity from the sun, including us. If you had two potted plants, you put one in front of a fire, which the sun supposedly is, and one in front of a fluorescent light, the one in front of fluorescent light is going to grow. The other one's going to shrivel up and die.
Yes.
Okay. Scientists don't even know how solar panels make electricity because they think that photons come down, they knock out a boron molecule, and that jumps to another hole. And they have this whole thing. They think they know how it works, but they're not sure how it works. It just works. Well, I know how it works. The solar panels are collecting the electricity coming from the sun and just funneling it into a current. It's really simple once you see that. The sun is like a Tesla coil. So the sun sends its energy down to the earth, and as it gets lower down, the air is thicker and it's exciting those molecules and they get hotter. So when you're up high, you're closer to the sun, but it's cold because there's not as many air molecules to heat up. The hottest temperatures are at the lowest altitudes.
Hemisphere, stratosphere, and what was the other one?
Not sure.
There's three. Oh, I can never remember that. Okay. And didn't NASA come out recently and say that
whatever NASA says, you can just discount it right away?
No, but I think this is backed up allegedly by other scientists, and they said that
NASA said there's dinosaurs on the moon this week. Okay.
And gremlins. Don't forget gremlins. The gremlins are there as well. That the sun is within our own atmosphere or something.
NASA said that?
I'm sure.
No, they said the moon is within our atmosphere.
Moon, that was it. The moon. So
yeah.
Why would NASA come out and all of a sudden after,
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to explain how the moon flag waved when an astronaut walked by it.
Sure.
Give people doubt that maybe there's a little air up there and that can make the flag wave when somebody walks by it. Not sure. They're trying to confuse people, and they certainly do that well.
But it wasn't like mainstream news. I remember just kind of scrolling through something and thinking, wait a minute, is this real? Let me just verify this, and looked at another website. And I thought, well, why isn't everybody talking about this? Because this should be, in essence, because if that was the case, then why was all of this danger in regards to going up to the moon?
Well, they left it vague enough where that there's just a little bit of air out there, not enough to survive. It's just that our thinner layers of the atmosphere are up that high because it, the higher you go, the thinner it gets. So it's like it never gets to zero. I mean, you can interpret it that way. Again,
Mhm.
it's just a nonsense thing. Basically, anything NASA says is a lie because they're liars. We can prove it. Like on the space station, these two guys in the foreground were flipping their little hat around on their microphone, and way in the distance, this guy floats by to give more realism. So I zoomed in on it. What do you see? Is that guy floating by, or is he on a harness?
That's not a harness, David. Look, you can clearly he's floating.
He's floating. Okay. And
See?
these guys were just finishing up their talk, and the green screen glitched out. Okay.
Yes. I remember that one.
And this woman is talking to kids, and look, is there a stuffed animal there? There it is now. And now she can play with it. And it's a VR, it's a augmented reality that they're using. She's either looking at contact lenses or at a movie screen, and she's manipulating these objects with her hands, and they're not really there. And that's how they flip and float things around.
Look, it's the Gregorian year of 2021.
And people still believe we live on a spinning ball flying through an infinite vacuum. Isn't that crazy?
Well, look, they'll believe anything now because we've got this kind of technology. We've got all this deep fake technology out there. You don't know what is real and what is fake these days.
I'm wondering if some of those astronauts aren't even people.
CGI, totally.
Yeah, why not? It's easy to keep them quiet that way.
Less up and in this day and age of media and social media technology, as you say, back in the olden days, it was a lot easier for these compartmentalization of scientists, engineers, and astronauts to not fully understand what the bigger picture is. Today's world, forget about it. So as you say, that might be 100% correct. These might be not even real flesh and bone beings that we're being seeing projected on our screens.
Correct. Are you familiar with my app?
Yes.
So it's called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. And for anybody that's hearing about Flat Earth for the first time, if you want to look into Flat Earth, if you Google Flat Earth, your mind's going to get tired, and you're not going to find any good information easily. So I created this app that bypasses YouTube's algorithms and helps you research this most important topic. So it's available for Android. You have to have operating system 8.0 or higher, or iPhone, you have to have iPhone 6 or higher. And it will show you how the flat earth works, how seasons work. Can I show you how seasons work on it?
Yeah, just go for it. Go for it.
So we're told that the earth is tilted away from the sun, and that's why the light spreads out more because of that tilt, that 34-degree tilt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have our winter. But did you know that during our northern winter, we're 3 or 4 million miles closer to the sun in the heliocentric model?
Yes, which is totally insane. Which is totally insane.
Yeah. So remember, let me show you. So you see where the sun is now. On December 21st, the sun was over this yellow line, which is the Tropic of Capricorn.
Mm-hmm.
And on June 21st, it's over this inner yellow line, which is the Tropic of Cancer. And that's our inner northern summer for the people in the inner north.
Yes.
So if I jump the sun forward to June, you can see that that's closer to us in the north. And it's higher over our heads, just like an airplane flying directly over your head and one at the same altitude paralleling it, out 60 miles to your south. It's going to be lower in the sky because it's farther out south. So the sun goes around once a day and it laps the moon once every 28 days. So as the sun moves in and out, that's why we have the seasons. And the moon's position and phase keeps track of the weeks and the months. The sun keeps track of the hours and the days. And the stars that go just slightly faster than the sun, they lap the sun once a month. So this constellation that's chasing the sun right now is going to catch up to the sun, and the sun will be in this constellation for a month. And then the following month, it'll be in the next constellation. And the
Yes.
following month, it'll be in the next one. And so the stars keep track of the seasons and the years.
Aries, Taurus. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Amazing, right?
Mm.
And if I turn on the time zones, you can see that right now it's 5 a.m. in Eastern Australia, and it's 8:30 p.m. in Central Africa.
So David, explain explain to me who on this particular point is thick. We're living on a flat plane.
Right.
Um, why would there be like, especially in America, why is there so many different damn time zones? I mean, I know America's big, but what it can't be that big. Why you'd have so many different time zones?
Well, because if you look here, I'm over here on the East Coast, and right now it's almost 2 p.m.
Hmm.
Okay. So you look, the sun is 2 hours past me. Each one of these lines is an hour. Okay. So it's not even noon on the West Coast yet. It'll be noon on the West Coast in an hour. Right. So there's the time zones. And then, you know, um, Alaska has other two more time zones because it's farther around.
Okay.
So so the sun goes around once a day, and it's 24 hours in a day. They've confused us by giving us clocks that go around twice a day because they don't want us figuring out that the sky is the clock. It keeps track of the hours, days, weeks, months, seasons, and years perfectly. And then the bigger cycles are the eclipse cycles, which are 18 years and a certain number of days. And then eclipses repeat again and again. So everything in the sky is the cycles of this Earth system, which is a perfect clock with amazing accuracy. But just real quick on the app, if you click the question mark, every question that you might have about the Earth is in here. You know, hey, how does circumnavigation work? Or, you know, what about seasons, which we just talked about? If I click what about seasons, up come videos that you would never, that YouTube will hide from you. Or, you know, what about ships over the horizon? If you click that, up come all of the videos and tests that we've done showing you why ships appear to go over the horizon. And basically, you know, you can watch those videos and learn, and then you can do experiments yourself. And what I tell people is, if you think flat Earth is stupid, I have a challenge for you. The app's $2.99. Get it. Every day there's a featured video. Watch the featured video every day. I do short ones during the week, longer ones on the weekends. And after 2 weeks, if you can come up with one proof of the globe, make sure you check the frequently asked questions first before you send it to me. I'll refund your $2.99 and I'll give you a full Bitcoin. Okay.
Wow.
That's a pretty good offer.
That is a damn good offer. A full
Yeah.
bit for anybody who doesn't know about Bitcoins. Just you know, do a quick calculation, and you'll figure out that's not.
Yeah. If we look at Bitcoin as we speak right now, it's at $31,000. Time to buy some more. All right, because I bet by the time by the end of this month, I bet it's $40,000.
Yes, it's splashing back up now, isn't it?
Yeah, good buying opportunity. So there you go. That's the app. A lot of fun, and it's a great way to learn about flat Earth.
It's informative. It's very much so informative. And as you say, the questions, there's a plethora of resources which will.
Yeah, I wish I had it when I was learning. I would have been a lot faster. It's amazing. And if you like it and you're in want to learn more, just make sure you go into your phone notifications, go to FE Clock, and turn on your notifications. So you get one push notification a day that just tells you what the daily video is about. It reminds you, hey, new video is up, and you can click it or not.
Excellente, excellente. So what is the future of and once this zombie apocalypse is all done and dusted, you know, being
So if they have their way, if they keep people in their comas, and I believe if they get enough people to get vaccinated, that will keep people in a coma. I believe the vaccine will keep you in a coma as one of the side effects, then they will have their wishes and they're still maintain control of this world. But I believe that people are waking up. And as I said before, if everyone just woke up and united and just said, no, thank you, they could do nothing. There's nothing they can do to us if everybody worked together and saw the truth of our world. And the truth of our world is we're divine beings in the center of creation, and nobody has dominion over us. But everyone has basically, they're lost in space, spinning out of control on this heliocentric nonsense. And they give up their divinity, they give up their free will because they're afraid, and they want the government, the mind control, to protect us. So
Protect
again,
us from the aliens. Don't forget the little green men, little Iwas and them.
right, but people love space, outer space, and aliens. Well, you don't lose that with the flat earth. Extraterrestrials come from the extra terra beyond Antarctica. And the outer space is the space outside of Antarctica, the outer spaces of our world. Okay. So extra terra is extra territory. And if you want to believe, in aliens or slash extraterrestrials, I do. I believe they come from the extra terra that's beyond us. They're a day flight away instead of trillions of miles.
Well, no one really has touched on that in much detail in regards to the obviously we know of the ice ring that's
Right.
holding everything in, but outside of that, like, oh, here
Maybe
we
there's
go.
other lands. Maybe there's another sun. Maybe Mars is a sun, Venus is a moon, and they're in the outer space. So NASA wants to go to outer space on a
Uh,
Mars mission. Maybe.
uh, I didn't think of that because, as if people aren't aware of, there is a long-standing treaty which all governments signed way back in 19, was it?
57.
Yes. Um, to say that they're not going to mine, they're not going to do anything like that.
Nobody could explore Antarctica.
Yes. You can go to the tip and you can see a few ice, some little penguins, and pay $40,000 upwards for the
Exactly.
experience. Whether you actually have your feet on the ground or you'll be, I'm not too sure about that, but yeah,
They'll
it's.
take you right here, right off of Santiago, and you get to explore this little jetty right here.
Mm.
Okay. But nobody can explore all of this land, all of this, right? Is bigger than all of our world to get combined. And it's off limits.
Well, Captain Bird, what he went
Admiral
into
Byrd, yes.
Admiral even. Sorry, I'm demoting him. Um, he went into details into, and he was perplexed on that interview. Like, why America and everybody else isn't over there now raping the hell out of this unexplored mountains of all different types of natural resources. I mean, what are your thoughts, David, on on petrochemical? Do you think that um, dinosaurs, which is a very very new term in lexicon wise, lizards, let's call them lizards and dragons. Do you think that those creatures, which are deemed mythological, I don't think they're actually mythological, that they all died and then they were all crushed up, and what we're driving our cars around on now is a result of vegetation and dead damn dinosaurs?
Is that a real question?
It's a real question because that's what a lot of people think, David.
Yeah, it's crazy. The empty oil wells are full again. So what, more dinosaurs crawl in there and die? The oil is abiotic. I look at oil like the blood in our body. It
Mhm,
refills.
mhm.
So you drain it, it refills again. And again, we shouldn't be pulling oil out of the earth in the quantity that we do, because it's not good for the earth. We're destroying the earth. We're breaking the bones of the earth with fracking, and we're
Mhm.
draining the blood of the earth. when in fact there's free energy right here surrounding us. You can just extract energy straight out of the ether.
Yes.
But that technology has been hidden from us
Hmm.
because if they control the electricity, they control the water,
Hmm.
and they control our minds, they have control over us.
Totally. And make us totally independent to a system where, as you say, there was a very famous um, scientist, Mr. Tesla, who has hundreds of patents. One which
Yep.
is a vehicle which is being driven around now, which has made a certain person very the richest person in the world now, apparently.
Apparently.
Apparently, the technology and those two big, huge masts that he had in front of his house, paying no electricity, drawing, as you say, from the ethers, electricity, because it doesn't. Energy is infinite, as we know. Yeah, it can't. It dissipates and
Right.
transforms into different ways, but it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. But the powers that should never, ever, ever have been have decided that will give too much freedom and independence for people to be non um, dependent on a system or a government.
Totally. It's all about control. And like the Truman Show, the True Man Show, it's all about, we live inside this world and they don't want us to know that there's more to discover, that we have free will, and we could do way more than they're allowing us to know.
Most definitely, most definitely. I mean, very last thing I'd like to explore is Shambhala.
Shambhala.
Mm. Well, what are your thoughts on that concept?
Like Shambhala, is that at the center of the earth?
Yeah, well, the inverted world in essence that there's an idea, and I'm sure there's some sort of a game with Admiral Byrd of him flying into it at some point or something like that.
Yeah, again, there could be worlds beyond Antarctica, and did he fly into it? I don't know. There's stories at the center of at the north where explorers said that it got warmer and warmer, and then it got to a point at one point where they couldn't tell the difference between the air and the water, like it was becoming the same medium. So that's really weird. So it kind of makes me think that we live in this realm, this toroidal realm, and when you get close to that center of that toroidal field, matter isn't what we know it is, and that could be why the North Pole is off limits completely. So it, you know one of the things that came out of Antarctica is people say that they think that they're hiding the inner world, the hollow earth. It's an entrance to the hollow earth. Well, the hollow earth, in my opinion, is just another deception to make you think you live on a ball, but a hollow one. Okay. When the earth is measurably and observably flat and stationary. Now,
Hmm.
is there an underworld? Very likely. The deepest hole ever dug was 8 miles. They hit an impenetrable barrier. Maybe there's a whole nother realm below us. Maybe there's a way to get in and out of there. I don't know. Maybe it's hell. Maybe the heavens above us, above the firmament, or even within the firmament. I don't know.
The firmament. How many firmaments are there?
Well, there's one that I know of. If you talk to Santos Bonacci, he'll talk about the 7 different layers, and a lot of that makes sense to me. But uh, I kind of like staying with my feet on the ground here
Hmm.
and trying to explore things within our realm, within the limits of as high as we can get and as far out wide as we can get, which is the Antarctica and, a commercial airplane flight, or actually a balloon, 120,000 feet.
Outside of that mad Mike and that crazy stunt and all that kind of stuff, is there anybody actually trying to mimic or emulate something like that experimental wise?
So Mad Mike was not trying to prove the Earth was flat.
Yeah.
He was a stuntman like Evil Knievel, and he was just gonna jump in the desert, get launched in his steam powered rocket that he made in his garage, and he was looking for money because he needed new compressors. And some flat earthers said, hey, we'll raise the money for you if we can put a billboard on the side of your rocket that said flat earth. And figured that, it said research flat earth. And we figured that it would be on a lot of TV, get a lot of coverage. So why not get people thinking about flat earth back in the days when you could Google flat earth and come up with relevant information and not disinformation.
Yes.
So he put that on there. I believe he was a flat earther. I believe he knew the earth was flat, but jumping 1,800 feet, I mean, there's buildings that are taller than 1,800 feet. Okay. Airplanes fly at 35,000 feet. Yes. And you can't see curvature. So the news ran with it as he was trying to prove the earth was flat. Okay. And that article ran everywhere. It's still, even after, and then he killed himself in a rocket launch. Some people are wondering if he actually killed himself. Or he was paid to disappear so they could have the story of him killing himself, because there's so many people that say flat earth. Oh, you're like that crazy rocket guy. Yeah. So it's great disinformation. It's great to get people to laugh at flat earth. And if I were the controllers of this world and I saw what he was doing, and we saw how the news media ran with that ridiculous story, I'd offer him some money to make him disappear.
This is it. We live in less stranger times, David, where that is more than a reality. But
personally, I think he killed himself by accident. I think he got killed in his crazy rocket.
And what was he trying to do on that attempt?
Just to make the record, the farthest steam powered rocket launch. That's it. He's like Evel Knievel who jumped the canyon. That's all he was trying to do. It had zero to do with flat earth. Now, he did say that his dream would be to build a rocket, launch it in a balloon, have the balloon go up to 120,000 feet, and then launch the rocket from there to go up to, another 50,000 feet or something. And that could prove flat earth. But that would cost millions of dollars and he would for sure die. But that was he had mentioned that. So the media said, okay, he wants to prove flat earth. And he wants to prove it with his little 1,800-foot jump. They lied. It's a total lie.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere because most people that haven't looked into flat earth have heard that story.
Yes, because as you say, you've got a powerful big tech organization who massage your search results to keep you more and more asleep and to push you potentially. I mean, you've got people who are coming out allegedly promoting certain ideologies or theories, i.e. flat earth, and they're talking absolute nonsense to make it look like that, well, wait a minute, I thought this flat earth was pretty serious, and you've got this guy and he's totally off the kilter.
Right. So, again, when I talk about extraterrestrials or the dome or anything, those are things that are beyond our reach. And those are things that we're speculating about. But there's plenty here within our realm that is testably provable that the earth is not a spinning ball. So I like to stick with that. I do like to speculate about what's out there because everyone asks the question. So again, other flat earthers, some flat earthers have different ideas. I'd say the majority of them think we're within a dome because there's so much evidence of it. But it doesn't matter. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat, measurably flat. We can see too far. So how many stretches of flat water does it take to make a sphere? And the answer is the earth is flat. I mean, there's no answer to that.
Operation Fishbowl, was that the one when they were sending missiles up at the...
They were sending missiles up, exploding them to maybe try to break a hole through the firmament. And, people say that there were nuclear bombs, but another rabbit hole is nuclear bombs don't exist.
Don't exist. And this... Oh, okay. So what about mountains? That mountains one that was in Russia and stuff.
Mountain, there's no forest on flat Earth.
That's it. What's your take on that? Petrified wood and all that.
Yeah. Now I can't even walk in the woods now or drive down the road without looking, going, holy crap, that's a friggin' tree. It's so obvious. There were giant trees here, and some event turned everything into stone, and these trees were cut down. And there's some crazy evidence of that. I mean, it's beyond doubt. So there were giants on Earth. Um, there were giant trees. The best place to look is if you look, there's a bunch of channels, but John Levy, Jonlevi, 2 words. He's got stuff. It's mostly on Tartaria, but he shows that these giant trees were there. Um, there's tons of information out there. I might even add. I have a nice playlist. I might add that to the app soon.
Definitely. I think it's interesting. I think some of
Oh,
what I watched, I,
it's mind blowing.
it,
It's
it,
mind blowing. Now, are all mountains trees? I can't rule it out, but some of them don't appear to be. But
they don't, David. Some of them do not appear to be trees. 150,000%.
yeah, yeah. But they're some of them, like there's a series. Okay, this one I resisted it so hard, even after becoming a flat earther. Is there's a mountain in Spain that looks like an elephant laying down. Like, okay, that what are the chances? All right, it looks like an elephant. Well, that looks like an elephant eye. Well, look, the eye is on there's eye on both sides, and that's crazy. And then you go explore the eye, you climb the mountain and go into the eye, and it has all of these ocular veins that go through just the same as like an elephant's eye would be. And the nose, everything, like there's tunnels in this thing, like it's a friggin' elephant that's petrified into a mountain. The ears, everything.
I haven't
It's
seen
all
that one.
there. And the name of the God, I hate the friggin' name of his channel. It's what the heck is the name of the channel? It's I I don't remember. I'll try to find it to you and send it to you, and you
Yes,
can link it in this
please.
podcast.
Yes.
It's amazing. Stellium 7, Stellium, Stellium, maybe
Hmm.
Stellium 7. And when you see his videos, don't shake your head. Don't I like I met this guy, and he sent me a video, and I watched a little bit of it. I'm like, and then he made the next one, and I didn't even watch it because it just didn't I just like nah. And then I started to watch it. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Then I watched the next one, and I'm like, holy crap. And then I watched all of them, and there's no doubt that we're being lied to on a scale so grand. It's unbelievable. I gotta find it. Stellium. I gotta find it for you. I probably spelled it wrong, but I'll send you the link.
Please do that. That elephant one has got me very much intrigued. And as you say, giants, it,
Yeah.
it
Wait and see.
goes it goes without saying. There's a lot of evidence in regards to large male.
Right.
I mean, would you call the giants Homo sapiens
I don't know, man.
scientifically?
Here's the thing. You look at rocks and like marble, all of this stuff looks like petrified flesh of different animals and different living. It looks like organic matter. It's once you see this, you bring food and water because you're not coming out of that rabbit hole for a while. It's mind blowing stuff.
Excellent. Two more things before we wrap up, sir.
Okay.
Have you had fun today?
Oh, great time. You're a good interview host.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Very lastly, I do this with all the guests. I know you'll get this straight away. Tell us who you are, David. We know your full name. Tell us who you are, but don't tell us your name.
I'm just a guy that wants to know the truth in this world and wants the world to be a better place. And I'm doing my best to help people see.
Couldn't said
That's
it
it.
any better. Couldn't have said it any better. Social media wise, where can everybody get hold of you? I will make sure I will put links below in the description so they can get the app
Yeah.
and obviously links directly to your social medias. But feel free to throw them out now, sir.
Right. The app is the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, available on both Google Play and iTunes. I mean, App Store, and my YouTube channel where I have nice short videos that'll help get people resistant. Like, oh, I'll watch a 3-minute video, a 5-minute video. Um, it's just the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, so it's DITRH. And that's a good place to start. And then my podcast and website by the same name, the Flat Earth Podcast. So if you have a podcast player on your phone, just type in the Flat Earth Podcast and it'll come right up. And you can check out the flatearthpodcast.com. And also Twitter is the FE Podcast.
Excellent. Again, thank you very much for your time, sir. It was very timely, very timely.
All right.
Make sure you go over to the social medias. Make sure, if you can, if you are interested, download the app. There's lots, as I say, there's a lot of information on there. If you're new and you're thinking, I want to find out more, this is an excellent place to get it. Jump on the social medias, follow, like, comment, subscribe, and most definitely share.